presentation. My name is Carla and I'm a paper representative. I'm also joined by my colleague Angela, who will be here to answer your questions should you have any throughout the presentation. And we highly encourage you to go ahead and submit any questions that you have. You don't have to wait until the end. Here, we're ready to answer all of those. So we'll go ahead and get started. Alrighty. So the agenda for today, we're going to go ahead and start by introducing paper. So we want to make sure that you all are aware about the different tools, the different features that your students have access to here in the platform. We'll be talking about all of those as well as the tutors that are here to provide support to your students. We'll also be talking about how your students and yourselves can navigate the student dashboard so that you all know how to use it and where all the features are located. We'll also have the opportunity to hear directly from a student that is joining us. This is a student from Twin Rivers who is here to tell us a little bit about their experience using the platform. And lastly, if there's any questions at the very end, we will leave some time so that we can address anything that might come up. Now, we do like to make these sessions interactive, so there will be some questions that we will be sharing for parents. We love to hear from the parent community about experiences that you might be having. So there will be opportunities for you all to tell us a little bit about yourselves. And that is exactly how we're going to go ahead and start the session. Now, the question is here, which of these challenges have you experienced when helping your students with schoolwork? You can go ahead and share your response in the chat. You can simply submit the letter that corresponds to your answer. Now, have you experienced challenges with helping your student with more advanced topic assignments? Maybe they are taking those advanced math classes, science, English, and it's a little bit challenging to support them in that. If you haven't experienced any challenges with helping them prepare for exams, especially now that finals, the last few weeks or months of the year are coming up, if that's been a challenge, go ahead and tell us. Maybe helping them prepare or finish assignments that are due the next day. Maybe they forgot and they're doing it last minute and they need that extra support, or revising those writing assignments, or all of the above. I can already see some responses coming into the chat, so we'll go ahead and wait. I see a D, that's revising writing assignments. B, a lot of B's actually helping them prepare for exams. That is very challenging. We want to make sure that they always get those good grades on those. State, do these tutors know about what is on the test? Great question. We'll go ahead and address that in just a second when we're talking about the tutors, but that's a great question for us to address. And a lot of E's. So all of the above, absolutely. So we know that students are taking different courses. They're also having many different assignments, and it can get a little tricky to support them with everything that they are learning in school. We at Paper know that, and we want to make sure that you as a parent are equipped with this resource so that you know that your students always have an extra helping hand shall they need it. So we're going to go ahead and talk about how we do that here at Paper. We're going to go ahead and start with our mission. Our mission here at Paper is to provide equitable, personalized, and free academic support that serves all students. Now, we have partnered with Twin Rivers School District to make sure that there's always support for students. And we know that when it comes to tutoring, anything that's outside of school can be costly. It can be challenging for some families to provide that to their students. So our mission is to make sure that all students in the district can access that support whenever they need it. Now, how do we do that? Let's talk about what exactly is Paper. Now, Paper is an educational support system that, like I mentioned, is being provided by your student's school district. This is going to be absolutely free and available to all K through 12th grade students. That means that students from elementary school, middle school, and high school can go ahead and access it. Now, we have different features to support students academically. The very first one that we have is Live Help. That is where students can go ahead and connect with tutors 24/7 to receive support with homework, with preparing for tests, with catching up with work. So tutors will be there at any time of the day, could be after school hours, maybe when it's a little bit more challenging to connect with a teacher. If it's after school, during the weekends, and even during the vacation periods for students. So right now that spring break is coming up, If your students have anything that they need to work on, or you want them to continue learning throughout that time, this is a great tool for them. Now, we also have Review Center. That is where students can submit any type of writing assignments to receive unlimited revisions from tutors. Now, we know that writing is a very important aspect of students' education. We have to make sure that they not only know the foundations, but that they know how to build from that. It's a tool that they're going to go ahead and use for the remainder of their academic career. So we want to make sure that they're ready. So here students can submit anything that is a writing assignment. It could be essays, short paragraphs. It could even be scientific writing. And for students that are in higher grades, they can also upload college personal statements, job applications or resumes, and scholarship applications as well to get those revisions from the tutors. So very, very helpful as well. Now, last but not least, we also have paper missions. That is where students can access an interactive math hub where they can practice their math skills. Aside from writing, math is another topic where students might need that extra support. So here is where they can go ahead and answer different problems. They can go ahead and select different math topics to polish those math skills in a fun way. This is all gamified, so your students can have fun while they're learning. And all of these different tools, we'll go ahead and showcase them in the demonstration later on in the presentation. We also want to mention that these resources are not only available 24/7, 365, but we also have support available in different languages, which includes English, Spanish, French, and Mandarin. So if your student happens to feel more confident with any of these languages, they can access bilingual tutors that can provide them support anytime they need it. Awesome. So we provided an overview of what those features are that we have in the platform, but we'll go ahead and go a little bit more in depth into the different features. The first one is live chat. So again, that is where students can access those tutors and have those conversations about different subjects. Now, this is unlimited, individualized, and it could be for any topic that students have questions about. When we say unlimited, we mean that students can last for as long as they need to working with a tutor. It could be 15 minutes if that's all it took for them to understand a concept. That is totally okay. If they need a couple of hours, 3-4 hours to work through an entire homework set, that is also fine. Tutors will be there every step of the way to make sure that students feel confident about every question they ask. Now, this is great for any homework assignments, for studying, for getting ready for exams, catching up with work, and there's going to be different ways that students can communicate with the tutors. There's going to be an opportunity to send text messages. So just like we're seeing here on the image to the right, students can send those messages. They can also send voice notes where they can record themselves asking a question and send it to the tutor. There's also voice typing where students can dictate their questions and see it appear as text. We have text reader where students can listen to messages that the tutors have sent. And they also have the opportunity to send files, pictures, or screenshots of their assignment. Now, there is also a whiteboard that students can use if they need to work a little bit more visually with tutors. And again, we'll showcase all of this when we get to the demonstration. Review Center. Again, these are unlimited revisions for any sort of writing assignments. Here we want to make sure that students are supported in anything that they're working on. So it could be essays, lab, book reports, creative writing, and again, the opportunity for students that are in higher grades and that need it to send any scholarships, college admissions, essays, and resumes. Now, the feedback that tutors provide will encompass all aspects of writing, including grammar, punctuation, argumentation, citations. So there's going to be a lot of opportunities for students to learn how they can improve their writing skills. And paper missions. Again, paper missions is all about math. And we know that this can be one of those subjects that can be a little tricky, challenging, and frustrating for students, and maybe even for parents if you are there supporting your student and trying to get them supporting the questions that they have. So again, this is where students can sharpen their math skills in a fun and gamified environment. They can select whatever level of math that they feel most comfortable with and build up from there. And this will make the subject hopefully a little bit less intimidating for students, and just let them know that they have the ability to challenge or to tackle challenging subjects like math. Awesome. Now we're going to go ahead and move from features to talking about other ways that students can connect with the paper tutors. And that is through the paper app. This is available through any mobile device that students might be using, could be their phones, tablets, iPads. It's very easy to download. All that students need to do is go to their app store and type in Paper Education. That is the name of the app that we have for them. And there, if you have any students that are always on the go, maybe if you have student athletes that need that extra support, if students are involved in extracurricular activities and they could use a little bit of that time to start on their homework assignments before they get home late at night, that can be a good alternative for them to still get connected wherever they are. Alrighty, so here we are. Now, paper wouldn't be paper without our tutors. We're going to go ahead and talk a little bit about them so that you can get familiar with who they are and how they can help support your students. Now, all of our tutors are subject matter experts that are knowledgeable about every subject that your students are asking about. So we have folks that are specializing in math for elementary school, for example, or science for high school. And they all have at least 1 year of experience with teaching. They all have clear background checks to ensure that your students are always working securely here in the platform. And they all go through a very rigorous training process to make sure that they are fully prepared to start helping your students when they log in to ask their questions. They are all trained to not just give out answers to your students, but instead to ask guiding questions that lead them to those right answers. What we see a lot of students do is they'll go to Google, they'll type their question. Sometimes they get the answer, but what is missing a lot of the time is how they got from point A to point B, how they got to that right answer. And whenever they see similar questions in the future, they don't know how to tackle them because they missed that entire explanation. So that is what the paper tutors are here to do. They are here to foster critical thinking. So they'll get your students to do the work while they're being guided, and make sure that they feel confident after every single session. So tutors will never give out answers right away. Instead, they'll ask those questions to ensure that your students have full understanding of what they're asking about. And I remember that there was a question at the very beginning that a parent asked, so I want to go ahead and address it very quickly while we are working or talking about the tutors, and that is when it comes to testing, are tutors knowledgeable about the material that students will be covering? Now, tutors don't have the knowledge of specifically what topics your students are learning about. But if your student brings a study guide for preparation, or if they bring a specific problem that they're working on that they need help with, they can just go ahead and let the tutor know, and they'll be able to get guidance in that way. So any study guides, anything that the teacher has provided in order to prepare, or if they've done it themselves, they can bring it over so that they can ask those questions and be guided throughout, and make sure that they're fully ready for those exams. That was a great question. Awesome. And of course, we got to talk about student privacy and safety. As parents, this is very important, I'm sure. Anything that is online, we got to make sure our students are safe. This is also very important for us here at Paper. So we do take different measures to make sure that your students are always working securely here in the platform. The very first thing that we do, sessions only show your students' first name, last initial, and grade level when working with the tutors. That is all the information that they can see about your students. Your students will also work with a new tutor or a different tutor every session. And the way that they will communicate will be via those those text messages that we mentioned before, or audio notes. There will be no access to video in the platform, but your students will have a variety of tools within the chat that they can use to show the tutor what they are working on. And lastly, we do have a student code of conduct. So if there's ever any occurrences of inappropriate behavior or worrisome language in the platform, we do have a protocol that we follow, and that is we get in contact with the school administrators so that they can provide additional assistance to the student if they need it. They will also provide information to you parents if there's anything of concern. And if there's any inappropriate behavior, they will also have a conversation with a student to remind them of the best ways to use the platform before they're able to get back again. So that is what we do in order to make sure that your students are always safe and always having a positive experience. Now, I want to take a quick pause. I know that we've just gotten started, but we've gone through quite a bit of information already. So if there's any questions, go ahead and send them through the chat. Again, you don't have to wait until the end. So we can wait for a few seconds to see if any questions come up that we can help address at this time, making sure that we are all good to go before we move on to the demonstration of the platform. Now, while we wait for any questions that might come up, I do want to provide a quick summary of what we've covered so far in case any parents came in a little late. We're talking about PAPER. This is an educational support system that is being provided to your students for free. It is available 24/7, and it includes tutoring, live tutoring that students can do with tutors in the platform where they can chat or send audio notes. There's also a review center where students can submit any writing assignments, and also Paper Missions, which is a math center where students can go ahead and complete math problems. We also talked about our tutors and the way that they support students in the platform, and also that student privacy and safety, the measures that we take in order to make sure that students are always good to go. Awesome. Alrighty, so we're gonna go ahead and move on to the demo. Now, I did have a question here on the screen, so we can go ahead and take an opportunity to ask you all once again another question, and that is, has your student already used Paper before? A quick yes or no in the chat will do the trick. We'll wait for folks to submit their responses before we move forward. Okay, and I'm seeing answers come in. I'm seeing majority no, and that is totally okay. If your student has not used Paper before, that is okay. You are definitely in the right place to learn about what this is and how it works. Alrighty. That I know of, right? Sometimes we gotta go in and check with student. We can ask them, hey, have you used it already? Awesome. Yeah, thank you for sharing. So again, if your student has not used it, that is totally fine. Let's go ahead and explore how they can go ahead and use it. Alrighty, the very first thing that we need to know in order to see how your student can start is knowing how they can access your Paper account. Now, your students will be able to access Paper directly through their ClassLink portal or also the Paper app like we mentioned before. Now, ClassLink, I'm sure this is something that all students are super familiar with. You as parents, I'm sure, are also familiar with this portal. All that students need to do is go to their ClassLink portal, and they will be on the lookout for this icon. It's that letter P, blue and white. It says Paper there. This is already already there for your students in their dashboard. So they don't have to download it. You as a parent don't have to go fish for it. Your student already has access to it and it's already there for them. So all they have to do is click on that icon and that will take them directly to their Paper account. Now, once your student has taken those steps, they're going to be able to go into their dashboard. And I'm going to go ahead and show what that looks like now. Let me bring this over so we can take a look. Perfect. So this is what your students will see when they are working with the Paper or when they log into their account. Now, something that I want to mention is that students will have a different layout or a different view depending on their grade level. So here, if students are in elementary or middle school, this is what they'll see. So there's a little bit more color, icons. When students are in high school, they'll be able to see this view. Now, it doesn't matter what grade level your student is attending, they'll always be able to find exactly what they need here in the dashboard. I'm going to switch to middle school just to keep us there for now. And something else that we mentioned before is that students can go ahead and select their language preference. So anytime that they need it, they can go ahead and select a different language if it's necessary. This is the language preference button. So students can click on that and they will be able to see the different languages that we support with. Like we mentioned, English, French, Spanish, and Mandarin. So they can go ahead and click on whichever one they need. And when they are ready to work with a tutor, they will be connected with a tutor that can support them in the language that they selected. Now we're going to go ahead and go to exploring every single one of the features that we covered before. The very first one is live help. So those are those tutoring sessions that are available 24/7 and that are unlimited. Now, when students have those questions, they will be able to see their dashboard. It is personalized. So that means that students will be able to see the classes that they're taking this semester reflected in their dashboard. So for example, if students have a question about math, they can just go to that button and go directly into a tutoring session. And that is actually exactly what we're going to do. Math is actually the most popular subject that students ask questions about. So we're going to go ahead and start a math tutoring session. Now here, we're going to go ahead and click on chat with a tutor. And like we mentioned before, students will have the opportunity to either send text messages or to use voice notes. Students will have the ability to select whichever one they feel most comfortable with. With voice notes, it helps a lot for any students, especially the little ones that might still be learning how to read, how to write, how to type. So that can be of great support for them. So we're actually going to go ahead and do a voice note session so that we can go ahead and showcase that. Alrighty, so we've started our math tutoring session. And we are here. We're connected with a tutor already. So it doesn't take very long to get connected. They are here 24/7 to provide that support. Now, students will have the ability, just like I mentioned before, to send those audio notes. All they need to do is click on the microphone, and I can see that my tutors already sent something my way. They can see what the selection was, the way that I decided to start my session. And I selected audio notes, and that is why the tutor sent this message. So we can go ahead and take a listen.
Hello, Carla. My name is Carrie. It's so wonderful to meet you. How's it going?
Awesome. So there's always going to be an opportunity to greet students, to ask what they're doing, how they're doing, to get that conversation started. Now I can just go ahead and send another audio note. Carrie, I'm doing well. Can I get help in my math homework, please? And there it is. Now students will have the ability to send those messages. If they need to resend for any reason, they can go ahead and X that out and retry it again. We're going to go ahead and send it. We're ready to go. Now, students will also have the opportunity to switch back to text if they need to. So here they can go ahead and type. And there's also going to be other tools that they can go ahead and use whenever they need to show the tutor what they're working on. The very first thing that they can use is the math keyboard. Now, this is going to be super helpful for any students that might be working on math, any science. We know that depending on the level of those subjects that your students are taking, it might be a little challenging to access symbols that they might be using on their regular keyboard. So this could be a great way for them to type out their question and use the symbols if they need it. Now, something else that students will be able to do is take screenshots and send them to the tutor, same with pictures and also sending files. So all students need to do is click on send file, and that is where they can go ahead and select anything from their device. If there's any virtual worksheets from the teachers, or if they're using the app, they can quickly snap a picture with their phone and share with the tutor what they're working on. Something else that they can do is draw on the virtual whiteboard. They can go ahead and click it. That is where they go. They click on draw. And this is where we can draw anything from diagrams, problems, graphics. Here, I'm just going to go ahead and send a pretty simple fraction problem. What a lot of students do is they actually get very creative in the ways that they use the virtual whiteboard. When it comes to, let's say, students working on ELA, and they're working on reading comprehension, for example. A lot of students actually submit questions or submit screenshots, here through the whiteboard. They can also do that. And they annotate what the parts of the text that they're confused about. And that is how they let tutors know, hey, this is where I'm stuck. So many different ways to get creative here in the with the whiteboard, and just a way to work visually with the tutors. I'm going to go ahead and send this over. And I'll be able to see that this is going to pop up. Now, students will be able to, whenever they're ready to take the next step, they can go ahead and just click on that again, click on draw, and I can see that that's already popped up again. So I don't need to redraw everything. Whenever I'm ready to take the next step, I can just go ahead and do so. And I can work collaboratively with my tutor actually, because they can also do the same on their end. So we can both work at the same time to get to the right answer. Now, something that might be of a lot of help for both for both parents and students is the history tab. Now here we can see that there is this option to the left, view chat history. We're already here in the chat, so we'll go ahead and click on this one. Now for any parents that are curious to see how their students are utilizing paper, the type of questions that they're asking, the type of support that the tutors are providing, you can always go to this section, and here's where you can see all of your students' previous sessions. So you can go ahead and click on anything and you'll be able to see what they've shared. Now for students, obviously, this is also very helpful because if they ever forget an explanation from a tutor, they want to go ahead and review again. Maybe they asked a question at the very beginning of the semester and they're getting ready for a final. This could be a great tool to help refresh their memory and take a look at the explanations that the tutors provided. Here we can see that we still have access to messages, to the drawings, the audio notes, so everything will still be there. Now coming back here to my section. Now, something that I do want to remind you all is that tutors are trained to not just give out answers, but instead guide students along the way. So here I can see that my tutor is already sending me some support with how to answer this question. She's also using the whiteboard, and we can actually take a listen to what the response was after we shared the problem.
Awesome. You are good on the whiteboard. That's great. Thank you. So if you don't mind, Carla, I want to do a little picture for these for us to think about alongside.
Awesome. So that was the message. I can see that she shared the picture. So they're going to be utilizing these tools as well to make sure that students are guided along the way. And again, they're not going to give out answers right away. So they'll be able to guide your students to make sure that they have full understanding of the concepts. Now, for the sake of time, we're actually going to wrap up this session because we do have other tools that we want to showcase. So we're going to go ahead and let our tutor know that we have to go so that she can help other students. All right, so we've let her know we got to go. When students are ready to end sessions, they can click on this button up here, confirm. And very important, students will always get the opportunity to provide feedback after every single session. So here we're always collecting feedback. We have a team that's always dedicated to checking that out, making sure that students are actually getting good use of the tutors and that they're receiving the support that they need. So if there's anything that they enjoyed, if anything could have gone better, they can always provide us with that information. Now, going back to my dashboard, I'm going to go ahead and go home because now we're going to go ahead and cover Review Center. Again, that is where students can send any writing assignments. Now, your students will always get the opportunity to either make their selection to the left, so submit writing for review, or we can also click on the icon there. All righty. Now, when students are ready to submit a new assignment, they can click on Upload Work, and that is where they'll be able to send whatever they're working on. Now, they'll get the option to either select the work that they've done that is saved on their device, or if they happen to be using Google Drive, that is also going to be an option for them. I'm actually going to go ahead and showcase how this one works. I'll go ahead and click on that. And I'll go ahead and pull up an assignment that I already have ready to go so that a tutor can review it for me. All right, let's go ahead and look for it. Moment. All right, and I can see that I made the selection. It's already been uploaded. Now, something else that students will be guided to do is to provide a little bit of information about the work that they've done. Here we make sure that tutors don't give out general comments about students' work. We want to make sure that it actually speaks to what the student's been asked to do in their assignment. So they can let us know the title of their work, the type of submission it is. Again, we support all types of writing, the class it's for, and the language it's written in. Now, super important is that students provide instructions that they've been provided either by their teachers or the applications that they're completing. Again, that is going to help the tutors provide specific comments that speak to what they've been asked to do. They can also go ahead and leave additional comments or questions. And here is where students will see an ETA, so how long it might take to get their work reviewed. Now, this one isn't as instantaneous as the live help sessions because tutors do need a little bit of time to go over the work and provide their comments. So students will always be able to see how long it's going to take to help them prepare or to plan ahead. Now, I already actually received feedback on this assignment. I'll go ahead and go fish for it. So students will receive a notification when their work has been reviewed. Here, I'm going to go ahead and zoom in a little bit so we can see it a little clearly. There we go. So what students will be able to see is feedback summary. So just in general, what the tutor found in their assignment and quick comments. We also do check for plagiarism, which is a very, very important aspect that students need to be aware of. So if tutors happen to find plagiarism, they're always going to provide tips for how students can go ahead and provide better citations or get their ideas out in their own words or other people's ideas in their own words. Now, students will also be able to download the reviewed file. Now, I actually have it right here, and this is the assignment that I submitted. Zooming in a little bit, I can see that there are these highlighted areas. I can go and hover over, and I can see the comments that correspond to that section. Now, again, tutors will focus on all aspects of writing from grammar, structure, citations. So very, very important. The point here is that students take these comments and go back and make revisions and edits to their work before they submit to their teachers or before they submit those applications. Let's zoom out here. And that was Review Center. That one we went over pretty quickly. Now we're going to go ahead and cover paper missions. Again, that is where students can practice their math skills. We're going to go ahead and click here. And students, this is unlimited, so students can complete as many problems as they need to. And they can go ahead and do it whenever they would like. If they don't happen to not have any homework assignments and they want to go ahead and keep practicing, they can go ahead and do so. So they're going to be able to pick their math level. They're going to be able to complete those problems and they will be guided. So students will have the opportunity to select everything from elementary school or elementary school topics like counting to even trigonometry for students that maybe are in high school level. So let me refresh that so we can go ahead and take a look. And again, if for spring break, this could be a great option. Here we can see all the different math levels. They can go ahead and click on whichever one. And they can also build up. So once they're done with counting, they can move on to the next level and continue building their knowledge. Now, they're also going to be able to see their progress. So how many problems they've completed about each topic. And they can also even see their day streaks. So how often they're going in here and practicing their math skills. Amazing. So that is the very quick walkthrough of the paper platform. I know that we're covering tons of information so far. So again, any questions that you might have, please feel free to drop them in the chat so that we can get to them. And I do see that there's been some questions coming in, so that is great. Now we're going to go ahead and have a little bit of fun. It's not all about intaking information, but it's also about testing how much we've learned for today. So we're going to go ahead and play some paper trivia. Now, we're going to go ahead and ask some true or false questions that you're going to go ahead and answer in the chat. You can just send true or T or false or F to submit your responses, and we'll be able to see how many paper pros we have already. Let's move on with the first question. True or false, your students can get support from tutors 24/7. So let's go ahead and see those response. Wow, I have some pretty speedy typers here. True, true, true. Amazing. Yep, you guys are all correct. Good, great job. So yes, your students can get support from tutors 24/7, 365. So that could mean midnight. Hopefully your student's not staying up that late completing assignments, but if that's their case, there's support available weekends and even those school breaks, school break periods as well. Now let's go ahead and go to the second question. True or false? Your student can only submit essays to the review center for expert feedback. True or false? Wow, okay, great, great. I'm seeing false, F. I don't think I see a single true, which means you guys are all correct. Great job, parents and guardians. So your students not limited to only essays when it comes to review center. They can upload any sort of writing assignment. So once again, those short paragraphs, maybe even just a line if that's what they need to, if they're just getting ready with starting to put together their writing assignments, any outlines as well if they're trying to get their ideas in order. For high school, once again, college personal statements, job and scholarship applications, and even creative writing. So if your student's passionate about writing, but they don't have a specific not subject, but a specific assignment that they're working on in school, but they're just working on their own poetry, for example, they're still invited to submit it to the review center. Last question for today. True or false? Paper missions help students practice their math skills in a fun and engaging way. Amazing. And yep, thank you for that reminder as well, Angela. Job and college application support for review center. Yes. Amazing. True. Tease. Yep. I don't think we got a single wrong response, which makes me so, so happy. So proud of all of you, parents and guardians. It lets me know you guys are paying attention and are also, just getting excited for all of these different resources that are available to your students. So yes, this is true. Paper missions is all about math. So all of those math skills will be able to, your student will be able to practice through that feature in the platform. Great job, y'all. We got some paper pros. Now we are going to move from our paper trivia to talk a little bit about best practices. We want to make sure that you are aware about how your student can make the most out of paper. Now, we have different ways that your students can use it. When we hear tutoring, we usually hear, okay, if my student's struggling, then they have to go in and ask a question, but there's different ways to utilize this. The first one is if your student's absent, if they were out on vacation, they were out sick, they fell behind, we want to make sure that they are getting those assignments turned in so that their grades don't take a hit, but that also they have that knowledge that they needed to have. So if students have any sort of absent work, they can go ahead and come into a tutoring session and work on it with a tutor. They might be not understanding a concept and they need to clarify it, and that might be a foundation for what the entire class is already working on now. So we want to make sure that they are all caught up and the tutors can help support with that. With tests as well, whether it is test prep. So if your students are getting ready for an exam, just like we mentioned before, they can bring a study guide, anything that they're using to help them prepare and share with a tutor. They can just start a question saying, hey, I'm getting ready for an exam. There's questions that I don't understand. Can you help me? And then share with the tutor so that they can get that support. Same with corrections. If their teacher is giving them the opportunity to correct their work to maybe improve a grade, they can also bring previous exams to make sure that they are understanding where they went wrong and how they can fix it for next time. And also, just like we mentioned, school breaks, we are here 365. So your student doesn't have homework, well, there's many different ways that your students can continue to learn, whether it is with paper missions, working with those math skills, or maybe even any questions outside of schoolwork that your student may have. Maybe they are super interested in something that is outside of what they're working on in class. They can go ahead and bring those questions and get those questions out of the way with the tutor. So for example, a lot of students come into the sessions and they'll ask something like, hey, I'm very curious about how gravity works. Can you explain that to me? And the tutors will provide that support so that they can get a little bit of guidance, even in the things that they're interested in. Alrighty, so we are nearing the end of our presentation, but we don't want to leave without getting to talk to our student guest. We do have a student spotlight, just like we mentioned at the very beginning. We are joined by Marcelo Granados, who is a student in 7th grade attending Norwood Junior High School. He's actually one of our top users of paper. He's already logged in, asked questions to the tutors, and gotten support. So Marcelo, if you want to come off mute, we're very, very excited to have you join us for this second round of presentations. And there you are. I see that you're not at school anymore. How are you doing, Marcelo?
Good.
Awesome. Well, we're very, very excited to have you, and I'm sure parents are very excited to hear from you. So I'm going to run through a few questions that we have for Marcelo so that he can tell us a little bit about his experience using paper. Now, Marcelo, can you share a little bit about what your experience was like when you first came into paper, the very first time that you used it? How was that like?
When I first logged onto paper, I was very confused because there was a lot of buttons, a lot of different things you can go on, and I didn't know what at first. At first, I was like, thought it was a bunch of bots and stuff. I was like, because my teacher was like, log on to paper, y'all gonna check this out, and I was like so confused. Everybody was confused in my class.
Yeah, I love that. Well, I love that your teacher got you to try it. And also that is a very common question that we get from students. And that is usually how they'll start their tutoring sessions. They'll think because it's online, they'll think that it's a robot that is talking to them through the session. So we are so glad, Marcelo, that you gave it a try and you started communicating with our tutors and getting that support. Now, if I can ask you, how often do you use paper now?
A lot, like 2 times a day. I just got off of it right now.
Oh, nice. Can I ask you what subject you used it for right now?
Math.
Nice. Yep, math can be tricky. What other subjects do you use paper for?
I mostly use it for ELA. And like my essays, I have essays every week.
Oh, wow. So that's a lot of writing for you. Have you used a review center to get those revisions from the tutors? Have you used Review Center to get revisions for your writing assignments before?
Yeah, I use it all the time.
Nice. And what are some of the comments that the tutors have shared on things that you can improve on your writing?
My punctuation, my grammar, evidence, like my claims and evidence, like giving my evidence and evidence that supports my evidence, stuff like that.
That's awesome. Yeah. And those are very hard to do, right? So when it comes to citations or making sure that you have the right argument, that it can be very challenging, but so glad that you've gotten support, Marcelo. If I can ask you, how have your tutoring sessions gone with when it comes to working with the tutors? How has that gone for you?
It's going pretty good. Most of the time, it can get frustrating because a lot of people will have internet problems, or they'll take forever to text because they're with multiple people.
Yeah, no, that's such a great point, Marcelo. And we definitely want to make sure that students are getting supported. And if the tutors need to take that extra time to work through the problem that you submitted and make sure that they are good to go to support you, then they might take a little long, or to support other students that you're working with up to 1 to 3. But very glad that you remain patient and continue to get that support and logged in. Now, when you talk to the tutors, do you usually send messages, or do you use audio notes? Do you share pictures?
I share a lot of pictures, and I used to text all the time, but then when they had the audio, I started to figure out the audio.
Yeah, and that's probably a lot faster to communicate with the tutors. You don't have to type at all, huh?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, very last question for you, Marcelo, before we let you go for today. what have you learned about yourself after working with the paper tutors?
I learned that having a fixed mindset doesn't help you at all. And with paper helped me learn and have a growth mindset to dig deeper and do better.
Love that. Thank you for sharing, Marcelo. We're so glad that you've continued to log in. Just like I mentioned, Marcelo is one of our top users. So we've seen him log in a lot of times and asking those questions about different subjects. So thank you so much, Marcelo, for joining us. We're so excited to send a little care package for you that you'll be receiving after spring break. And we hope that you can continue logging in and getting the support. Thank you.
All right.
Alrighty, parents, round of applause for Marcelo. He was amazing. And we're so grateful that he was able to join us for these 2 sessions that we were hosting today. Now, we want to go ahead and open it up to questions. We've gone through so much information throughout this session, so we want to make sure that anything that we need to clarify before we let you all go for today that we can answer. So you can feel free to unmute yourself if you'd like at this point, or you can also just share your questions through the chat. We're here to answer.
Hey, Carlo, I have a question here from parents. Can my student use paper during spring break and summer vacation?
Great question. So yes, this is available 365. So that means that students can come in even when they are on school breaks. We know that spring break is the one that is coming up already next week. So hopefully you all are excited and your students are too for that. So yes, they can go ahead and log in and access from the tutoring sessions to paper missions to review center if they happen to have anything that they need to submit. And that will also include the summertime as well. So if they need to do either taking summer school and they need to log in for those questions, they're invited to do so. Or if you have the type of student that's super curious and they want to get ahead for the next school year, they can also come in with any reading list or anything that they have to get support.
Another one, how many times can my kid ask for help?
So this is unlimited. That means that students can come in as many times as they need to on a given day. Marcelo just shared that he logs in at least 2 times in the day to start tutoring sessions. So it could be as many times as students need to. There is no limit. It could be as many times as they need to throughout the day or throughout the week. There's no limit to that. Oh, and I do see here one in the chat that I wanted to address as well. I wanted to know if downloading the app, do I need a code or invitation from someone? You don't. All you have to do is go to your app store and look for Paper Education. That is the name of the app, and there you'll be able to download it. I do want to note that for the app, Paper Missions is not yet available. Our team is working to make that available through that as well. But for now, students will be able to have tutoring sessions and also submit writing assignments through that. Any other questions that we can help answer?
I have one. I guess what data is tracked? Well, you said there's a lot of tracking in an archive of such things that have been transcribed. So are there other data that kind of can show alignment improvement with some of the subjects that they're working on?
That's a great question. So yes, there is tracking in the session, so they're all saved. What we do also have available for teachers and administrators is extra data that allows them to know how many students are accessing paper, the types of questions that they're asking. They also have full transparency into the transcripts, so all conversations, the submissions that students have sent for Review Center, So that is an extra layer for parents. We invite you, if you're ever curious about how your student is utilizing the platform, you can also go into their paper account and check that out. At the moment, Angela, I want to ask you if there's anything that speaks to student progress. I think you'd be better able to answer that one.
So one thing about it is when tutors are in a session, all they can see is students' grade level and also their first name. Like they will not be able to see anything aside from that. And then the transparency is really just for teachers to see, for example, if the student's on vacation or out sick, they come back and they're like, okay, I want to earn extra credit. So I log onto paper, and that's where teachers can see what have they done. And if there's anything, teachers can help from there as well. So that's the main thing that is in the platform for teachers or the admins to see from the students. But our paper tutors will not be able to see any like privacy data from students.
Thank you, Angela. I do see another question here in the chat. So if my daughter, let's see. Oh, I think you answered it, Angela. I'll just go ahead and share it out loud very quickly. So my daughter wanted a Head Start about 3rd grade during summer. Would we just ask if the tutor had any recommendations? So yes, that's important to know. The tutors won't provide materials, but if your student has anything that they would like to work on. So for example, if reading comprehension is something that they want to work on, they can bring any piece of text and share it with the tutors, and they'll be able to provide that support. And that is how they'll be able to do so. So the tutors won't be providing the materials, but if student comes ready with materials, they'll be able to get those questions answered. Awesome. And the last one that I will address before we move on to the raffle is how fast do they take for feedback? And I think it's for maybe Review Center. Yes. Okay, perfect. Yeah, so it could, it depends how many students are going in there and submitting. When it comes to finals, and I think that's the end of the school year, heads up there, it might take a little longer. It's between 24 to 48 hours. Sometimes it's done in 4 hours. Sometimes it might take a little longer, but the students will always be able to see that ETA at the very bottom, just like we saw during the demonstration, so that they know how long it's going to take. Awesome. Okay. So I believe Angela will continue to respond to anything else that comes into the chat, but we do want to be respectful of everyone's time. So we want to go ahead and go on with the raffle. Now, we're very appreciative for everyone being here. We know that it's the end of the day. We're ready to, just go and do whatever we need to do at this time. So thank you so much for your participation, for the great questions and the great participation. Now we're going to go ahead and raffle this $25 Starbucks gift card. Now I have everyone, thank you for submitting your responses at the very beginning. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this over so that you all can take a look. So we're going to leave you with contact information for if you need it after this session, any questions that you may have. Twin Rivers contact is the amazing Heriberto Soto, who has helped us coordinate these sessions, put them together. So you can go ahead and reach out to him for any questions at the district or for paper contact. We also have Angela, who has been here typing away, answering all of your questions in the chat. She is the district senior customer success manager, meaning that she is in very close communication with the district admin to make sure that any support that is needed, we can provide it. So that is their information. We want to thank you once again for your time today, and we hope that your students take full advantage of this free 24/7 resource. Thank you, everyone.